emergency response and also protest? It sounds like you want to disentangle.
I think what we saw on Monday was an example of how we would want a response to look like to an emergency. What we also see, however, in this city is the treatment of protest as if it requires the same. And New York City is a city that is proud of its history with protests and its exercise of the First Amendment. And what we have seen, however, is an inability to follow the rules and regulations that protects the rights of all those New Yorkers who exercise them. And what I am interested in as an outcome is how to live up to that city where New Yorkers need not choose between safety and justice, where both are delivered. And that means abiding by the rules that we've seen on kettling. That also means ensuring that we do not settle for misconduct lawsuit after misconduct lawsuit as it pertains to protests and the policing of those protests, but instead we change the manner in which we respond to those protests in the first place.
So you would disband the SRG, but you'd come up with another emergency response team?
There is a need to ensure that every act we take is one that is actually delivering public safety. And what we see right now, especially with regards to how we respond to protest, is not in line.
I know you just talked about the fact that you wanted to honor the people who responded Monday. And the reason I'm asking this question is I wonder if your views about the NYPD have changed over time, especially in light of this shooting and the fact that both Governor Cuomo and Mayor Adams have criticized your past statements about the SRG, the Strategic Response Group, which did respond because they claim that you said it should be disbanded. Do you still believe that? And do you want to send any kind of a message of healing to the police department about views that you now have developed?
Over the course of this race, I've been very clear about my view of public safety and the critical role that police have in creating that. Public safety that officers are tasked with delivering while we ask them to respond to nearly every failure of the social safety net. And the vision that we've put forward in this campaign, despite what others may say, is not to defund the police. It is in fact to allow those officers to respond to these serious crimes that many of them signed up to address, and to do so by ensuring that we ask them to focus on those crimes, and we ask mental health professionals to respond to calls of mental health crises. And as it pertains to the Strategic Response Group, when it was first formed, there was an intention for its use to be more akin to the manner in which it was deployed earlier this week. What we have found, however, is the city has come to rely upon the Strategic Response Group as its primary means of response to acts of protests across the city, when New Yorkers exercise their First Amendment rights. And that decision in asking the members of that unit to respond to protests, as opposed to what was the stated reason, is a decision that has led to the violation of a number of New Yorkers' civil rights. And it's a decision that has been the basis of my critique of the use of the group towards that end. And what I would also say in this moment is that it is beyond me that politicians are looking to use these days to score such cynical political points on the very day that I held the father of Officer Islam in my arms as he could not utter a single word, and as I felt him sobbing at the memory of his 36-year-old son who will never come home. To visit that family, to meet those children, to understand what this man meant to so many, and to hear from his brother-in-law that today was the day that they had timed their vacation together so that they could visit a water park in New Jersey, and that the brother-in-law's children knew they were supposed to go, Officer Islam's children knew they were supposed to go, and yet they were at home mourning a father who will never return. This is a time to honor those memories. This is a time to lead this city in coming together, not a moment to try and score the very points that turn so many New Yorkers away from politics.
Cheap political points, which you just said should not be scored in a moment like this. And he said effectively, if he doesn't like it, perhaps he should retract some of the words he has said previously, talking about police being racist or anti-LGBTQ, or that they should be defunded or dismantled. So this is a little bit of what Marcia asked, but as you've grown and reflected, and I feel, in fairness to you, you've been good about talking about growing and reflecting and always having conversations. Do you wish you hadn't said some of those things a few years back?
My statements in 2020 were ones made amidst a frustration that many New Yorkers held at the murder of George Floyd and the inability to deliver on what Eric Adams, of all people, described as the right for all of us to be able to enjoy safety and justice, that we need not choose between the two. I know that Governor Cuomo is far more comfortable in the past, whether it be his own or whether it be in attacking me for tweets made before I was even an assembly member. What I have said time and time again is the campaign that I am leading, the campaign that I am asking New Yorkers to consider, is one that has been clear on its public safety approach. It's one that speaks about a desire to work with police officers. And what has been quite frustrating to me has been the inability of so many, including the former governor, to reckon with the crisis we face in this moment, where 200 officers are leaving the department every month. A leading cause of this is forced overtime. And all they have to offer, they being these politicians of the past, are the same ideas they put forward years ago. What I am speaking of is a vision that will not only address public safety, but also keep officers in this very police department, will ensure that they can actually respond to the crimes that are being committed in this city. Because as we've seen in the first quarter of this year, we were only able to resolve 35% of all of those crimes that were reported. And part of that is a reflection of asking officers to do nearly every single thing we can think of. And so I'm proud of the public safety platform we put together. And I would say that for the former governor to have spent an entire day speaking almost exclusively about me and barely about the New Yorkers who have been killed is indicative of the very politics New Yorkers want to leave in the past. We want to honor the New Yorkers who have been taken from us far too soon. We want to know their stories. They are not merely statistics. We want to know of their smiles, their hopes, their dreams. And yet here we have a former governor calling every reporter he can find to speak about tweets. What kind of leadership is that? Andrew Cuomo wishes he was running against me in the past. He wishes that he was still living in the past, where he was the governor of this state. The sad reality for him is that he is running against me now in 2025. And despite his attempt at running an entire primary campaign based upon finding every tweet that he can that is in direct contradiction to the policies and the politics that I am running on, New Yorkers were able to see through that and elect me as the Democratic nominee with the most votes in the history of New York City mayoral primaries. And so if he wants to continue to try and litigate a race based upon tweets that are clearly out of step with the vision that I have, with the statements that I have put forward, then he is free to do so, because what he will find is that New Yorkers are more focused on the now and the vision that we have for the future than they are on an attempt to litigate this city through a medium of tweets.
Say that nature is healing, quote tweeting one that where a cop is crying. Liz was kind of asking about it before. I just think when some people see these tweets, a lot of people in New York City have family members who are law enforcement, and it seems to be mocking a mental health of cops, where mental health for cops is already on the rise, especially those struggling with mental health. So I just wanted to give you a chance to respond and really show and explain exactly, what are your going to be intentions to maybe help with the mental health of police officers, and exactly with those statements, could you help clarify and help explain, why you said what you said and what you hope to say in the future?
To be very clear, as I have been over the course of this campaign, I am not defunding the police. I am not running to defund the police. Andrew Cuomo is far more comfortable living his life in the past and then attacking tweets of 2020 and in running against the campaign that we have been leading for the last 8 months. The tweet that you refer to is a tweet that is out of step with the way in which I not only view police officers, the immense work that they do in this city, but also the seriousness with which we need to treat that work and the difficulties that come with that work. And so much of what I've shared today has been out of a vision of how to deliver on that which motivated so many to join the department. I am, as was said by Henry earlier, running as a candidate who is not fixed in time, one that learns and one that leads. And part of that means admitting, as I have grown, and part of that also means focusing on the people who deserve to be spoken about. Because our politics too often creates incentives to spend moments of mourning discussing other candidates, when in fact, many of these victims have not even been buried yet. We are speaking of families who are organizing funerals. And these families' focus is solely on those that they have lost. And we have seen that what they deserve is a moment of empathy, of support, of honor. And what they deserve in the future is one of leadership that seeks to embody those things while ensuring that our focus is on delivering that public safety. And that is who I will be as the next mayor.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.